Welcome to this week's Who the Folk podcast. I'm Lonnie Goldsmith, the editor of TC Jewfolk. Joining me this week is Kris Cramer, the St. Paul PJ Library coordinator at the St. Paul Jewish Federation. Kris talks about how she got started with PJ Library, being a cookbook author, and winning all kinds of awards for her baking at the Minnesota State Fair on this week's Who the Folk podcast. Kris Cramer, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
So you are the PJ Library coordinator. Is that the title?
Yep.
PJ for St. Paul.
Yes.
And the difference between Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minneapolis is through the Jewish Family and Children's Services. St. Paul is through the St. Paul Federation.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Do the roles or expectations, are they at all different because of the sort of parent organization?
Not really. PJ, it's housed through those agencies, but it really runs fairly independently through either agency. I think working, I do a lot of partnerships with JFS, so I think that it naturally fits well with the work that happens there because they're already doing programming for families in the community, and PJ does programming for families in the community. But I know all over the country, PJ Library sits at all different institutions, and we all just kind of do our thing wherever we are.
Does it help to be part of something like PJ Library that does have this huge nationwide network of people like yourself running programs and something as sort of big and important as PJ Library is?
It's definitely helpful. Like the Harold Grinspoon Foundation, which created PJ Library and oversees all of its operations, they are so organized and provide so many resources to the coordinators all over the country. And we have a very active Facebook group where we can get ideas and event ideas. Even people share marketing assets that you can just swap out your logos. Everyone's very generous with their resources and their time. And so definitely is nice to be a part of a larger community that we're all working towards the same goal and want to see each other succeed.
So you've been with PJ for about a year now, you were saying.
Yep.
You don't come from like a traditional sort of programming type background.
No, I don't.
So what was it that led you to being this program's coordinator?
Well, my background's actually in development, and I worked at Minnesota Public Radio for a long time doing fundraising for them, mostly digital fundraising and strategy, and then did a short stint for about 2 years at Animal Humane Society, also doing digital fundraising. And then I had my daughter, and I wanted to be able to stay home with her part-time. And like having a kid, got her enrolled in PJ Library, became friends with Marnie, who used to be the PJ Library coordinator in St. Paul, and was just looking for a part-time opportunity that also just sort of worked for our family. It's an amazing program, so when Marnie stepped down from the position, it just seemed like a natural fit.
So what type of change is it for you, though, to go from a development and a fundraising background to running programs and trying to program for, at least the demographic well, you're in that demographic with a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest or the hardest part about sort of making that transition career-wise?
Without making it sound icky, I'm so used to being in development that it's hard for me to not look for opportunities to fundraise.
Okay.
Because that's just, and working at the Federation, we do a lot of fundraising. Mm-hmm. And so it's hard for me to not be a part of that mindset in the work that I'm doing. It's fun because I get to do more of the fun stuff. I get to do the stuff that's celebrating the community, where we're helping people make connections, helping new families just kind of figure out what's going on and who do I know that can join me on this journey. And people just love the books, right? They're great, and it's a wonderful program. But it's kind of nice for me to sit at the Federation because it still allows me to tap into my fundraising background, being a part of the staff and being a part of staff meetings and other programs that are going on in the larger Federation, because I still get to use my background and my knowledge in those ways.
From a program standpoint, is there anything coming up on the PJ Library front that people in the St. Paul community should know about that they want to take part in?
Well, we're approaching summer, which is when things kind of slow down a little bit programmatically. So we're more in the planning stages.
Okay.
I'm planning some work with Carrie Fink, actually, in Minneapolis, for us to do some more by-cities things.
Okay.
Just, to collectively bring the community together more and make it less about this side of the river versus that side of the river. So we're looking forward to that. We're going to be doing... I don't want to give anything away because I don't know if we're supposed to be sharing this yet, but we have we have a really fun event coming up for Pride.
Oh, okay.
That we're very, very excited about, that we're collaborating on.
Very cool.
And yeah, I know they had recently celebrated their 10-year anniversary, and they have a bigger, they serve a bigger community serving the Minneapolis side. We just passed our 7-year anniversary in St. Paul, and we passed our 30,000th book that has been sent out. So
it's a lot of books.
It's a lot of books. It's a very cool milestone, and it's just, it's this common denominator. My daughter goes to the JCC daycare in St. Paul, and it's just this thing that unites like all of the families, and then everyone knows that I'm the PJ lady. So then the kids like thank me for their books and things like that. It's just
That's
it's
very
cool
sweet.
to be a part of, and it's just great to see. I see from the other educators there and families who receive the books, like they'll stop me and say like, I love the book this month, and we've been reading it every night before bed, and it's just such wonderful feedback
really
to
nice.
get about the program and to just see how it's a part of people's day-to-day lives.
And you get these like everyday examples of how it
Oh, yeah.
touches the families that are in your community.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I get it firsthand at home for my daughter. I'm so
Sure.
glad Passover is coming up, because last year she fell in love with Dayenu,
Okay.
like the song
Yeah.
and the book, and we've been singing it all year.
Oh boy.
So I'm really glad that it's finally coming up so it's relevant again.
I thought you were going to say because there's a new Passover book that's going to come.
Well, we did get a new Passover.
Oh, good. Okay.
But she still just wants to do the
Wants
Dayenu
Dayenu
book,
part,
and she
yeah.
wants to sing it. But I'm like, at least it's relevant. Like,
Sure.
singing Dayenu at Hanukkah, you just feel dumb.
At least it's a Jewish song.
This is true.
I
This
guess
is true.
that's one way to look at it.
And now she's a little bit older, so she can almost pronounce it correctly. Before it was just die.
What's so cute though at that age?
It is cute.
So you're also, in addition to PJ Library and having worked at NPR, you're also a cookbook author.
I am.
And you have won many blue ribbons at the Minnesota State Fair for
have.
food competitions.
Indeed.
When did you start doing that, and how did, sort of what led you down that path?
So I started food blogging back in the glory days when nobody had food blogs, so people would actually read your blog before Pinterest went and ruined it.
Okay.
Sorry. I like Pinterest too, but no one, you don't read the blog, you just scroll.
You just look for the recipe. Yeah.
You just want the recipe. No one cares about you.
I
and your family.
I don't read your backstory on the recipe.
Yeah,
Just
right.
give me the recipe.
So I started food blogging probably in 2005, 2006, and built a good arsenal of recipes. At that time, I'd gone vegan and was trying to navigate the world of vegan baking. And at that time, there were very few books available. So it was a lot of trial and error and experimentation, and I documented a lot of that and came up with a lot of recipes. And then published a zine, because I was living in Portland, and that's what you do when you live in Portland.
Right.
You publish a zine. And then I was contacted by a book publisher that wanted to look at the zine and was offered a cookbook contract, and from there published a handful of books through them. My most recent one was maybe 3 years ago. That was a whole book on cooking with seitan. So it was actually a cookbook. I prefer the baking to the cooking, but seitan is a fake meat that's made out of wheat gluten, so it's kind of the anti-wheat gluten movement, because it's pure wheat gluten. For people that are gluten intolerant, it's
Is there an
anti-wheat
anti-wheat the anti-wheat gluten, that crowd is that's going to be the gluten-free?
Yeah,
general.
exactly. So
This is all about the gluten.
This is all about the gluten.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, mostly my focus is on baking, and I love it. And so it just became a thing where I was just working on these different cookbooks, and practicing, refining any possible recipe or thing that I could get my hands on and could conceive of. And so I naturally have sort of become the token baker in the family and in my social life. I've had some fun catering, and I've had opportunities to do all sorts of just weird baking things. Like when I was at NPR, there was a previous show called Wits that John Moe used to host, and they would have random celebrities come on and do skits and perform songs. And there was one day that night Weird Al was going to be on. And they just found out that day it was his birthday, and he's vegan. Okay. And so I got a call at home. I wasn't even in the office that day, and they're like, "Can you make Weird Al a birthday cake? Because I know you know how to make vegan cakes, and we need to give him a cake since he's here on his birthday." I was like, "Okay." So I just randomly made Weird Al. So
you whipped Weird Al up a birthday cake.
A vegan birthday cake, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So just I've had weird opportunities like that have been fun. But then, I lived away from Minnesota for a while, and I moved back here in 2011. And, the state fair is a thing here. Oh, yeah. And I love the state fair. So I was immediately drawn to, refining my skills for the state fair. And the first year that I entered, I got 2 blue ribbons in peanut butter cookies and oatmeal cookies that year. Not vegan. I'm not vegan anymore. I still do a lot of vegan baking, but that's not my primary objective anymore. And then this past year, I got 2 blue and a red. I won for chocolate chip cookies, which was a big deal in my family because they're also hardcore state fair people, and it's the hardest category because it gets the most entries.
Really?
Yeah. So I beat out 127, I think, other people for the chocolate chip cookie category. Yeah. And then I got a blue for oatmeal chocolate chip, and then I got a red ribbon for brownies. Okay. And I felt pretty triumphant because my brownie recipe is actually dairy-free.
Really?
And I felt pretty cool taking the red second place, yeah. So we'll see. Every year now my husband's like, "What categories are we entering this year?" I'm like, "Where's the we in
What's this we?"
He does a lot of recipe testing.
I would imagine he would have to...
Yeah, and he does not mince words, so I'm always guaranteed very honest feedback.
So he's not a Minnesotan then? Or?
Oh, no, he's from Chicago.
Oh, okay.
He's got all the opinions.
I'm from Detroit and spent time in Chicago, and I can appreciate
yes.
Neither of those cities hold back, so It's all right. So are you looking for a next recipe to enter for next year, or are you going to try to refine what you've already done well and give it a shot with that?
I have different strategies depending on the year. Like the chocolate chip cookie category, I spent years refining that recipe. Okay. Where I'm the weirdo that goes to the creative activities building and takes photos of the winning baked goods that are behind the glass cases because I want to see what won. Right. 30% of your points is based just on how it looks. Right. And so obviously in the honey building, I would like to win the challah category, which I've entered but not won.
I entered that a couple years ago. Did you? Did not win. Because I've decided I'm the best challah baker I know.
Right?
And so I'm going to give it a shot. And so I wrote an article detailing the whole thing, and it was cool just how many people saw it there and took pictures and sent me texts.
Well, it got displayed. So
it got displayed. It's that's you. I saw your challah.
That's a crowning achievement.
I didn't win. Pretty sure didn't come close, but...
the stuff that doesn't get displayed, they just feed to the hogs. So you did not get fed to the hogs. That is an achievement in and of itself.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm happy to know that now. Look, hogs got to eat. I'm okay with that. But it was fun just to try and spent a lot of that summer playing with recipe development because the honey category is really, that's really hard to swap out all of the sugar just for honey, and it totally changes the consistency.
Yes.
And it was a frustrating process of playing around with different tweaks, and just the whole development of it was really hard.
Definitely.
So I haven't tried just the regular challah baked good category. Yeah. But that might be this year's. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the regular... every year they tweak things slightly. So in the past, I've entered in the regular creative activities under the challah category. But it's challah, Italian bread, and French bread. And I'm like, how do you compare those against each other?
Right. One year was challah... a couple years ago, it was challah and, Scandinavian breads. Yeah. So that's a weird... like, that's a weird mix. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like if you're making up those categories, you don't really know anything about any of those breads if you're
Right.
trying to compare them.
Yeah.
'Cause it doesn't really work.
So yeah, it's a tough nut to crack. But, every year I kind of go through, they're about to open up enrollment in a few weeks. And so I'll go through. I'm actually due to have a baby the week before drop-off. So there's no penalty for enrolling in a category and not dropping
Right.
off. So, I was baking 2 weeks after my daughter was born. This is my second kid. I'm going to enroll anyway.
Yeah.
Because who knows? Maybe 1 week postpartum, I'm going to be like, yes, I am making all the shortbread cookies and all of the things, and we're doing this. So it doesn't hurt to, just set yourself up for success.
So are you going to enter, so is your plan at least to enter, how many categories are you going to enter? I suppose the door's open to as many as you want.
Yeah, I'll probably just pick like 2 or 3 this year. Try to, try to observe the sanctity of that postpartum period and not push myself too hard. But I might also enter some canning categories this year because I like to make jams and things like that. Because I can make that stuff earlier in the summer and just have it queued up and ready for drop-off.
There you go.
And you don't have to drop it off yourself, so I can always just like send my husband to schlep it down to the fairgrounds on my behalf.
It was neat. The thing I really liked about drop off is because we love going to the fair so much is just being there without anybody else, and just sort of walk around and sit on the bench and sort of take in all of the sort of peacefulness. It was literally the calm before the storm.
Oh, and
of
it's so
all
wonderful.
of the people showing up.
Yeah, that time of year it's wonderful because everything's almost done being set up too, so you capture the magic of the fair. Like, we're hardcore fair weirdos. Like, we go multiple times, we map out our visits, we plan all of the things. We live off of Como Avenue, so we're able to just take the city bus.
Oh, that's nice.
There, like, and so yeah, like, I love going on the fairgrounds. Because I live so close, sometimes I'll just like drive through the fairgrounds on my way up to Roseville or something because it's open. So why not?
That's next level.
Yeah, we're real weird like that.
That's pretty weird. But because we love the fair too, so I respect that though. That's fun. And you're like, when they announce the new foods, you're like jumping online right away to see what's there. Are you like that level of like foodie level?
I mean, the minute that list comes out, it's getting forwarded through the family because everyone wants to see what it is. But we're typically not that impressed because I feel like we've hit peak weirdness for things on a stick and like how many things can you wrap bacon around? It's not that creative anymore.
No, but it's still tasty though. Maybe not kosher, but
not kosher, but yeah. So we, I always take a look at it,
right? But
at this point, I'm very rarely impressed.
I know. This past years we were sort of meh. There's like nothing there. A couple years ago there was some really good stuff, but yeah, I think you're right. I think there's only so many things you can put on a stick.
Yeah, everyone's trying too hard.
Yeah.
It's just like everyone needs to scale it back and just get back to basics.
But so you have your favorites of like the vendors that you'll go back to each year for.
Oh, yeah.
Like there are things that you will hit every year.
Oh, yeah. And, when I worked for Minnesota Public Radio, I would work the booth there a lot. So a lot of times I would be at the fair like 7 days out of the fair. And so then you have to pace yourself. You have to have a serious strategy or you're going to be miserable.
Yeah.
But there's certain things like I always get an ear of corn every
Love
single
the corn.
time I go.
The roast corn.
Love the
so
corn.
good.
And you don't feel that bad about yourself after eating an ear of corn. You're like...
Even with that, even drowning it in butter, you don't feel that bad.
It's not that.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Compared to the other things you're doing.
Could be worse.
I do the fried pickles.
Okay.
Love the fried pickles. And on the times I don't get the fried pickles, then I get the fried olives. So we always sort of alternate.
Okay.
Those are the like things that I absolutely must do. And then people always ask me what I think of Sweet Martha's because I do all the cookies and I get the ribbons and the things. And
yeah.
I never eat Sweet Martha's.
Really?
I feel like it is just a waste of calories at an event like the State Fair. I think they taste okay when they're warm.
Yeah.
Because any warm cookie's going to taste all right.
Right.
But there are other things I would rather use my calories and my stomach space on.
Fair. Makes sense. Yeah. Now, I mean, interest of full disclosure, I don't really like chocolate. Don't eat chocolate.
I don't understand that, but I respect it.
That's fine. I understand that people don't understand that, and that's fine. You respect it, which is more than I can say for a lot of people who might be listening to this. You know who you are. And So the Sweet Martha's, it's sort of lost on me anyway.
Yeah.
But just the idea of waiting, I mean, it better be a transcendent cookie if I'm going to wait in line for you for that long.
Yeah.
And
then
I know that it is.
Yeah. No. And I can never understand the people that then go to the like $1 milk counter. Who is drinking that much milk when it's like 100 degrees outside and you're sweaty and you're just like, my husband used to go and he would just chug glass of milk after glass of milk with his cookies. And I'm like, this is disgusting. How can you like now function in the world?
Right.
With that much warm dairy in your belly.
The line from Anchorman, milk was a bad choice.
Right?
That just seems like just a gross idea, but
it's a tradition for people. So
I mean, and people sort of, I know a lot of people, if you're not from here, sort of shake your head at the idea, the tradition of the state fair anyway. So,
but I'm not from here.
I'm not either.
I love it.
I do too. I do have a friend who once said he used to never go. His wife loved to go, used to work it when she was in high school and stuff, loved it. He would never go. He called it an argument against evolution. Now, to be fair, I get that. Mm-hmm. I see that. Mm-hmm. It's great people watching.
Oh, it's great people watching.
People are strange.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you gotta, I mean, I get the idea that you kind of gotta want it.
Yes, definitely.
I get that. It's not for everybody.
Oh, no, it is not. I always try to convert people, and sometimes I'm successful, and sometimes we just have a really bad day.
Yep, we've had that too with family. Family we've taken have loved it, and they can't wait to go again. And others were like, I think they're warm to the idea of wanting to go again, but we're not really warm to the idea of going with them.
Yes,
because it's a long day. Mm-hmm. You got to really dig in for it. So
it is.
I get that. All right, well, Kris Cramer, last couple questions, and we'll let you get out of here. Your favorite Jewish holiday?
Favorite Jewish holiday? Rosh Hashanah.
How come?
Because I can bake with yeast.
Ah.
And I like fall and apples and all of that kind of stuff is my favorite. And I have like 4 different Nordic ware pans that are apple shaped.
Oh, that's
so
cute.
I maximize my ability to bake in them during that period.
Okay. Well,
and it's fun. I've always loved the beginning of the school year and the beginning of fall. My birthday falls around that time. It's just a great time of year.
All right. And then it's going to be fascinating to hear the answer for this one because of your food background. Mm-hmm. Favorite Jewish food?
Oh boy. Baked or cooked?
Whatever.
Baked challah.
Okay.
I mean, I love challah. Who doesn't love challah? Like, you can make it sweet or savory and do whatever you want with it. It's very versatile.
Yeah.
Cooked. I guess I'm gonna say latkes.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I have to take that back. Knish.
Okay. Knish. Mm-hmm. Also baked.
Also, it's baked, but it's partly cooked because you have to make the filling first.
It's true. You got to cook the potatoes first.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, good knish. There's like nothing better than that. It is just comfort food.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, ultimate comfort food.
Indeed. Well, Kris Cramer, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it and look forward to hearing about your state fair exploits this year.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you to Kris Cramer for joining us this week. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. We are on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, anywhere else you can find podcasts these days. If you have any suggestions for who would be a good interview on the podcast, drop me an email. You can get me at editor@tcjewfolk.com. Thanks again for listening, and we will see you next week.